Hi Flosstube, Katrina the Crafty Cataloger here. Welcome to my March 2022 crafting update. For those of you who have visited with me before, thank you for coming back to see what I've been up to. For those of you who are new here, I hope you'll find something that inspires you to pull out your crafting supplies and enjoy whatever craft you enjoy. And for those of you who have recently subscribed, I thank you for checking out my videos and subscribing. I know that some of you must have come from the mention I got on stitching at the cabin, Julie and Alyssa, because I won a giveaway over there. Yay! And I will share that in more detail in a little bit. And I know that Jackie from Cross My Stitches gave me a beautiful shout out, and I appreciate that, my friend. And so I know that a couple of you have come from those spots. And if someone else shouted me out that I didn't catch, thank you. Anyway, I did fully intend to come back sooner. I know it's been a while. November 2021 was my last video. I did not make a video in December intentionally because I knew I was going to be busy with holiday stuff, and I also figured that everyone was going to be super busy trying to keep up on Flossmas videos, and I didn't want to add to the confusion and chaos. And so anyway, I figured I would just wait and give you an update in January. And then 2022 just has not started out exactly the way that I thought it would. The first part of the month was fine, and I fully intended to make a video in mid-January, and for whatever reason I didn't get around to it. And then towards the end of January, our oldest son ended up contracting COVID, and that probably wouldn't have been a big deal except for he has an autoimmune syndrome. I wouldn't call it a disease, I guess. It's called AHUS, atypical hemolytic uremic syndrome. And he has dealt with this before in 2018, and we had gotten everything under control. But the COVID made him relapse. So he spent 10 days at the University of Michigan Mott's Children's Hospital. They take patients up to age 25, I think. So he was still able to be in the Children's Hospital, which was a blessing, actually, because the Children's Hospital has different visitor restrictions than the adult hospitals. So anyway, I am going to share with you today some cross stitch, some knitting, some reading, and hopefully it won't be too much of a mess, because I did try to take notes and I did try to organize my thoughts, but it'll probably be everywhere. We're going to start out today though with cross stitch. So what I'm going to show you is not really in any order, kind of just however I grab it. I guess I should also point out, you'll notice I'm in a new location today. I am in, I'm not sure what I should call this room. I used to jokingly call it the Croffice because it was kind of my craft room, kind of our family office. But it's really kind of the craft room, my office, and the laundry room now. Maybe at some point I'll do a little craft room tour. Our oldest son moved out, like got a real adult apartment at the beginning of January. And my husband decided that he wanted his old bedroom, my son's old bedroom, to be his new computer room. So he's across the hall now, and I've told him that I didn't miss the fact that he left me with the laundry facilities and the cat's litter box, but you know, whatever. So this whole room is mine. It's not very big, and it's kind of a weird layout, which if I ever do that craft room tour, you'll understand better. But anyway, I'll take what I can get, and I'm super thankful to have any space at all. But that's where I am. Anyway, is in my new office craft room, whatever. So the first thing I want to show you on cross stitch wise is this piece. This is Miss Bingley's library. This is where I am right now, and I will put up a picture here in a second. If I hold it here, I will put up a picture. I'll try to put one over here of where I was before. This one was one I did not actually even intend to work on, but I took a different piece with me to the hospital when I was going to hang out with my son, and I finished it. So when my husband came down and we were still not going to be coming home for a few days, I had him bring this one in. I worked on it some more. So that ended up getting a little bit of love. That is, oops, I'm going to drop stuff everywhere. As I said, Miss Bingley's Library. It's by Plum Street Samplers. I believe this is 36 count, and I'm doing it 2/1, and I have substituted a lot of threads from the original. I just kind of picked stuff from my stash that I felt matched what they had suggested. So there's that. The one that the project that I finished while hanging out with him at the hospital was this. Laundry, the Never-Ending Cycle. And I believe this is a hands-on design. I did substitute some of the threads. That red I do not believe is in the original pattern at all. I used the color conversion that Christine from Stitch All the Things used on hers. And so I finished that. I think it's really super cute, and actually I have this frame right here, which is just a cheap dollar store frame, but it's got a bluish gray tint to it, and my plan is to frame that. I told you, I'm just kind of everywhere today. This isn't that pattern, but you can see how they've got the string with the clothespins. This is the way I'm going to do that when I frame that, and I'll talk more about this pattern in a minute. Well, I can talk about this pattern right now. So I mentioned that I won I believe it was the 1,000 subscriber giveaway for Stitching at the Cabin, which is Julie and Alyssa, two of my all-time favorite Flosstubers, and I chose the 1-2-3 Stitch gift card option. And so this pattern is one of the things I purchased. Irony, the opposite of wrinkly, which is part of that same series. I believe it's called the Laundry Company series by Hands On Design. I was correct. And I am going to stitch this one up. And I purposely bought 2 of those frames, and I will finish them the same way and hang them here in my little laundry. It's not even really a room. It's more like a closet or a cubby hole. Anyway, there is a third pattern in this series, and right now I'm kind of blanking on what it is, but I don't care for it as much, so I'm not going to buy it. But I do know that like this one has an additional pattern that just says fold. No, it does not just say fold. It says, yes, this one says fold. Wash, dry, fold. And I'm assuming that pattern had one of those pieces. Maybe I'll have to buy the other pattern just to get the third piece, because that would be cute to put those two and then the wash dry fold. Anyway, I'll figure it out at some point. But this was one of the things I got with my giveaway prize. And the other thing I bought was a bunch of threads for one of my projects that I'll show here in a second that I knew I was going to need to start. So thank you again to Julie and Alyssa over at Stitching at the Cabin for that prize, because that enabled me to get some stuff that I needed and wanted to get. The next project I'm going to show you that I worked on this last month, January or February, I think February. This is in full bloom. I will put a picture of it here of what it should look like when it's finished, and then I will put a picture of where it was the last time you saw it. This was, I believe, on my Whip Go board, I think for last month, and I was supposed to add 500 stitches, which I did all over in this area. I really like this piece. I know the colors are kind of weird, but there's something about it that's just whimsical and bright and happy. So I do like it. And I like that it's a lot of blocks of color. So I'm not sure I want to do this kind of stitching all the time, but it is nice once in a while. So I worked on that one. What else do we have here? Since I saw you last, I also worked on Mill Hill's Joy of Christmas. This one, this is what this is supposed to look like when it's finished. And I believe in my last video I said I was going to try to finish it up, and that didn't happen. That's okay. I am hoping to get this finished before this Christmas. I'm getting there. This square up here still has, I think that's a wreath. No, it's a bunch of mistletoe. So there's quite a bit left there to do, mostly just the mistletoe. There's something alongside this present that still has to be finished, and then these two blocks down here. I believe these 5 blocks are complete. Beads and all. So you can see the beads on the snowman. So progress, but still has a ways to go. And I would like to get that one finished before this Christmas. But not this month. According to my notes, I did work on Mini Village Bookstore. I'll put a picture of what that one should look like when it's all finished. And then I'll put a picture of where it was when you saw it last. And oops, here it is now. I honestly don't remember what I did on this, but I do know that I put in some work on it. And I love seeing this house come to life. If I were rich, I would totally buy an old Victorian house and Bob Vila it, or maybe the current term would be Chip and Joanna Gaines it, fix it all up, make it beautiful, but we all know that would take a lot of money, so not gonna happen. Plus, if I had a house that size, I'd probably want a maid. I mean, I want a maid now and I can't afford it, so yeah. I mentioned that when I ordered that pattern, I also ordered some floss to work on a project. And I'll have to insert a picture here because I didn't bring my pattern in here, but I started just this month spring rolls by, can't remember who. This is part of the Weenies series, I've done Jeans and Weenies, Halloweenies. Have I done a third one? Or is this the third one? Anyway, for those of you who have been with me all along, you'll know that I'm stitching these for my sister-in-law who has a dachshund named Penny. And, you know, my goal is at some point she'll have enough that she can just keep switching them out throughout the year. When I finish them, I put magnets on the back so she can just like flip them out. And so this is a spring roll. It was on my WIPGO board for this month to put in 500 stitches, so I have done that. I've actually done a little bit more. You can see I have the S, and I have started the dog. This is not going to be very big. Not very big at all, because, I mean, there's not much below this dog, and that's basically the top. So we'll see how that works out, but this is 35 count fabric, and I have come to the realization that that's probably too small for me. I have a very hard time seeing it. In fact, what I did finally discover is that if I take my contacts out and just use my eyes with nothing, no contacts, no cheaters, no nothing, I can actually see it better than if I try to wear my contacts and wear cheaters, or wear my glasses and look through the progressive lenses. So that also kind of makes it difficult to work on, because I have to remember to take my contacts out, and then after that, I don't know, it's just... Anyway, I think probably 28 or 32 is the smallest I'll ever go after that. But that's what I picked because that's what the pattern said. I bought whatever the pattern said to buy, and that was probably my first mistake. The other project, the last project really that I have put a decent amount of work into, or any work into, since I talked to you last, is Mini Deer Creek, artwork by Donna Gelsinger, charted by Haid. Here's a picture of what it will look like when it's finished, and then a picture of where it was last time you saw it. And here is where it is now. Every time I look at this, I just go, wow. Those deer look so real sometimes. It's just amazing to me. And as I'm working over here, you know, when you're working on it, it's like this big blob of just random colors, but then you start to step back and it's like, oh, I can see pine needles. It's just amazing to me. I love it. For those of you who are new here, this is a piece that I am doing with the intention of gifting to my father-in-law, who is an avid hunter and lover of wildlife. And I really wanted to be able to gift this to him this Christmas, but I don't know if that's going to happen. I would need to be doing about 4,000 stitches a month, which I know should be totally doable. But life, I haven't managed to do it yet this year, so we'll see. So my plans for the next month in terms of cross stitch are going to be to continue working on Mini Deer Creek. I guess I should also mention that I have mentioned that I'm doing WIPGO. That one was one of the WIPGO draws for this month. I'm up to date on WIPGO except for one thing, which I'll talk about in a second. I met both January goals. I met one of the February goals, and I've met one March goal already in this piece. This was one of the March goals, so that's done. And then I actually may have already met the other March goal, which was to add 500 stitches to this. I may have already met that. But there are two things I'm participating in. WIPGO, and then I'm in a Facebook group called Michigan Cross Stitch, I think is the name of the group. And I don't know if she's the admin or she just is very active, but Harmony Terry, who is here on Flosstube and on Instagram. And I'm blanking. I'm sorry, Harmony. I'm blanking on her channel name right now. I will make sure to put that here. If you're not watching Harmony, you should. She's always got lots of great projects going on. But anyway, Harmony put out, started a game, a challenge for us. Sorry, just kicked the tripod. And basically what we're doing is she has put all of the state capitals on a decision wheel, and every month she spins, and we determine which capital we're going to visit that month. And so then basically you Google Maps how far it is from your house to that capital. And so this month we're going to Arlington, Virginia, I think. And I'm about 150 stitches away. I'm using Mini Deer Creek for that one, for that challenge as well. And I'm about 150 stitches away from having that one done. And then I will continue to work on Mini Deer Creek to see if I can get to 4,000 stitches by the end of the month, which I don't think I can, but we'll try. And I will also be working on this piece. I should have silenced my phone. I apologize. I'm going to also work on this piece, which is a Mill Hill buttons and beads called Melody. And it's just this little music piece. This was on my Whip Go board for February. To finish it, I didn't even pull it out. This is where I am. This is where you would have seen it the last time you saw it. And I just want to finish it. I will probably give this to my husband to hang in his office. Either one. His office here at home or his office at school. Doesn't matter. But I would like to just get this one done. So that will be the other thing I work on. And then who knows what else I will work on this month. I don't know. I haven't really thought that far, but one of my goals this year is to kind of whip down. I should take account. I think I have about 15-ish whips, and I'd really like to have more like 8 or 10, 12 at the most. Nah, I'd like 8 or 10. And considering that 4 of them are full coverage, that would leave 6 smaller pieces, and I would really like to get fewer. But, you know, then I see something and I want to start it. So I know you all understand. But let's move on to knitting. I've only worked on one knitting project since I last talked to you. And that is my long line cardigan by Joji Locatelli, and I will put a picture of what it should look like when it's finished here. I did take it and put it on a hanger. It is starting to look like a sweater. I'm pretty pleased by that fact. I think this stitch marker here might be where it was when you saw it last, which means that I've done all of this, which when I think about it, that's a lot. And wow, I never noticed that until I just had this in the camera, but look at this this is much darker than this down here. Gosh, I kind of wish I had noticed that before. Can't fix it now. I didn't realize that skein of yarn was that much different. I bought them all at the same time. Well, anyway, we have the collar here, and it folds over. I have one thread there that needs to be woven in. Armholes, which hopefully when I go to pick up the stitches to do the sleeves, hopefully most of the awfulness there will be hidden, because some of that's not pretty. But and then this, if you see this white line here, that's a lifeline I just put in last week because I was feeling like I was tempting fate by not having one. But I mean, it is starting to look like a sweater, which is really cool. That does kind of bother me though, that I did not notice that color change was so drastic. Yeah, there's really nothing I can do about it now because I'm not redoing all of that. That's what makes it handmade, right? So anyway, progress on that. Still have a ways to go. Really want to get this finished because I do have a couple of other shawl patterns that I purchased a while back that I'd love to get started on, but I don't really want to start them until this is done. And I still need to finish up that baby blanket just because I need to get it finished. I have not touched the socks in months. They sit there in my office at work and I don't even pull them out. If I pull anything out to work on at lunchtime, it's this. I have just about decided that sock knitting is not for me. I just don't really enjoy it all that much, I guess. And that's okay. We don't all have to enjoy everything. I have been trying to use this, I don't know if I can show it real well, this row counter that I bought a long time ago. It's very pretty. It has this very pretty jewel thing on the end. And then, you know, it has these, beads that, you know, the numbers 10, 9, 8. I have watched 2 or 3 YouTube videos on how to use these. I get the concept behind it. But if any of you have any advice for me on using a row counter, I would appreciate hearing it. Because here is my problem. Some of the videos I watched showed the person putting the row counter in the middle of their work, which I guess there may be patterns where that would be necessary, but for this pattern, that wouldn't work. I need the row counter to be at the end so that I know how many I've made. But this is my issue. And there is this clasp on the end. My lifeline is in the way. There's a clasp on the end, and I do have it clasped to the sweater right now to help keep it from falling off. But when I get to the end of the row, it's like it falls off, and then I don't remember what row I was on. And I tried once putting it, like doing one stitch and then putting the row counter in, but that doesn't work either then, because then when I get to the end over here, I can't switch it to the next number because it's down at this end instead of this end. Are there any tricks, or you just have to be really careful? I mean, if there aren't any tricks and being careful is just what I have to do, I guess that's just a skill I'm going to need to practice. But if anybody knows like some secret that I haven't figured out, please share. But I think it's an awesome tool, and the concept behind it is genius. So anyway, pretty happy with how this is coming along. And like I said, hopefully, you know, sometime this year, this will be finished. Maybe by next fall and I can wear it. We'll see. Next up, books. So since it's been like 3 months, I have read a lot, and those of you who have been with me a while know that my definition of reading includes audiobooks. Without audiobooks, I would not get anything done in the reading world. So there are a bunch listed here, and I am not going to talk in depth about all of them, but I will list them all, and I'll try to put cover art up for you. Some of them are parts of series, and so I'll put them together. I read I think it's the Brides of Willamette series by Tracy Peterson. And I believe that those 3 books are Waiting on Love, The Way of Love, and Forever by Your Side. And they were all very good. I listened to those. They were good. I listened to Brentwood's Ward by Michelle Greep. It was pretty good. I enjoyed that one. Booked for Trouble was a paperback book that I purchased last summer when I was in Tawas with my mom. It was a cozy mystery. It was a good cozy mystery. Cozy mysteries are not necessarily my go-to, but I do enjoy reading one once in a while. That one was by Eva Gates. I read a book called The Christmas Heirloom, and I have 4 author spots listed here, but only 2 of them filled in. Whittemire, Hunter, and then 2 other authors that I will have to... that's Christine Hunter. The Christmas Heirloom. It was a short story collection. It must have been okay. A Holiday by Gaslight by Mimi Matthews. That was on my Kindle, and I don't know, I think I got it for free. It was pretty good. I have read 2 of the 3 books. I can't remember the name of this series, by Regina Scott. The first one is called A Distance Too Grand. The second one is called Nothing Short of Wondrous. And the third book, I can't remember the title, but I will put the title. I'll put all 3 of the cover art up there for you. Those were excellent. The first 2 were, and I anticipate the third one will be as well. I listened to them on audio. The narrator was excellent, and the storylines were really good. They were about strong female characters in the 1800s, who are going out west and fighting for their right to be able to do their job, whatever that may have been. Like, one was a photographer, and sometimes it's like you just go, wow, yeah, like, why did society always make women out to be these pitiful weakling things that couldn't do anything? But anyway, I would highly recommend that series by Regina Scott. I read An Ivy Hill Christmas by Julie Clayson. I'm not sure how you say her last name. If you have not ever read Julie Clayson, but you are a Christian historical fiction fan and you are a Jane Austen fan, she writes some stuff that's very reminiscent of Jane Austen, but it's Christian historical fiction. I read a series by Erica Vetch, and this series, Sarah the Stitchin' Mommy had mentioned this on her channel, and so I checked it out, and I ended up listening to all 3 of these on audio. The Lost Lieutenant, The Gentleman Spy, and The Indebted Earl. And I have to tell you that I absolutely loved the books. I loved the storyline. I detested the narrator. But I suffered through because I just didn't have the time to physically read the books. And I really wanted to read them because, like, the storylines were grabbing me. But the narrator drove me absolutely nuts. She just talked like this. And she literally, when it was like, when she would introduce the chapter 1. And it was like, oh, stop it. But anyway, the stories were really good. So I'd recommend you read those in print. Then I read a book called Joy to the World, which was actually a collection of short stories. And I read that because one of the short stories was also by Erica Vetch, and it was a short story of one of the characters who had been in that other series. So I wanted to know what happened. But that was very good. All 3 of the stories in there were very good. I read a book called The Magnificent Lives of Marjorie Post by Pataki, and I've read stuff by her before. It's very good. And this one caught my eye. I won't lie. The cover is what caught my eye. Woman in a beautiful dress. But then when I read the blurb on the back, Marjorie Post was the daughter of C.W. Post, which some of you may recognize as the founder of Post Cereal Company. And if you're from Michigan, you know that that started in Battle Creek, Michigan. So it had a bit of a tie to my home state. And it was a really good story. You know, it was a fictionalized account of her life, but it was very good. I read The Pink Bonnet by Liz Talsma. That is part of a new series by the Barber Publishing Company called what is it called? It's not called True Crime, but they're all true crime stories with a Christian fiction twist to them, but they are actual events that happened throughout history. And this particular story was about a young girl who is kidnapped from her mother by, her name is escaping me now, Georgia Tan, that's her name. Georgia Tan was the woman who ran the Tennessee Children's Home Society for many years and was not a nice woman. In fact, she literally stole other people's children and adopted them out to people for years. And she kind of had a lot of politicians and whatnot under her thumb. And so she got away with a lot of stuff. And this story was about one of the children that she kidnapped and then adopted out, and her mother's attempt to find her. I listened to a book called The Royal Nanny by Karen Harper. If you like historical fiction that's based on real life and you like the royal family, I think that you would enjoy this one. It was about the nanny who helped raise Queen Elizabeth's father. The current queen's father and his siblings. It was their nanny. And it was a really good story. And I didn't know that there was another brother in there that only lived till like he was 11, I think. I love those kind of books where I find out stuff and then I go like look it up and I learn a little bit of history. Anyway. Then I read The Lady of Galway Manor by Jennifer Dybel. Jennifer Dybel is relatively new on the Christian historical fiction scene. And her books are, so far, have all been set in Ireland, which is really kind of neat. It was a good story. Then I listened to a book called The Heiress, The Revelations of Anne de Burgh by Molly Greeley. And overall, I enjoyed this book. There were a couple things that I didn't really like, but, you know, that's the way it is. This was a book about Anne de Burgh, who, if you're a Jane Austen fan and you're a Pride and Prejudice fan, you'll recognize that name as being the daughter of Darcy's aunt, who she thought he was going to marry. And it's a twist on her life and why she was the way she was. And it was, the concept behind it was really good, and overall I liked it. I recently finished The Winter Rose by Melanie Dobson, which was a story about a Quaker woman who helped to take Jewish children out of war-torn France in World War II. That was a split-time novel. If you're not familiar with what a split-time novel is, that means that part of the novel takes place in history and then part of it takes place in another time period, usually the present. So one chapter might be in 1948, and then the next chapter might be modern day. And then at some point, those two timelines converge and you see how they're connected. This book actually was the first one I have ever read where there were three. There was the World War II time frame, there was a contemporary time frame, and then there were a few sections of the book that were actually more like Vietnam era time frame. That made it a little more confusing, but it was still a good book. And then what I'm currently working on is I decided that this year I was going to listen to the Anne of Green Gables series. This is one of my all-time favorite series. I love Ellen Montgomery. I read these books years and years ago, and I really enjoyed them. The first two movies, Anne of Green Gables and Anne of Avonlea, which star Megan Follows, are two of my all-time favorite movies. I'm not a huge fan of the third one. I do own it and I will watch it, but it's not my favorite. And I'm interested to see, I will be interested to see if that third movie is at all based on anything in the books, because I don't remember that at all. What I have already figured out is that the first movie follows the first book almost exactly, and that was so fun to listen to. The second, I am now on the fourth book. I started Anne of Windy Poplars yesterday, and it seems to me that the second movie is a mashup of the second, third, and fourth books, but what they've done is more just taking the ideas and redone them. So, like, one example is in the books, Anne is trying to replace a plate that she broke. And she goes to this other community to meet with this lady, to meet this lady who someone tells her has this plate that she wants to buy. And the woman's not home, so she climbs up on her shed so she can look in her parlor window or whatever to see if she can find if they have this plate. And she falls through the roof. In the movies, Anne doesn't fall through the roof of a shed, but one of her students does at the school she teaches at. So it's like they've taken the events, the ideas, and they've rewritten them. I think this may be a case where, probably because I've seen it a million times, the second movie is still my favorite. I actually like the second movie better than I like the books, but I do like the books. And so anyway, I'm working my way through those. And I'm going to do the entire Anne of Green Gables series back to back to back until I get through the series, because I want to make sure it stays fresh in my head. Anyway, let's wrap things up here. I've rattled on long enough. Some other updates, whatnot. Many of you know that I have been trying to have a walking streak. I had one in 2020 that lasted almost a year, and then I ended up having a little health issue that landed me in the hospital and cut that one short. I started another one and knew that it was going to be short-lived because the first health issue was going to require me to have surgery. But then after the surgery, I started another one, and I fully intended to keep going. And then my little stay with my son at the hospital in January ended up cutting that one. 312 days I made it, and so that ended. I have started a new one. I don't know, I'm at 20 some days at this point. And I guess it doesn't really matter if I just would love to make it a full year, but I do still try to get out every day, and I try, my goal is to go every day, and the rule is that I have to go at least 1 mile to make it count. So I want to mention a couple of Flosstubers. I've already mentioned Julie and Alyssa over at Stitching at the Cabin. Hilarious. If you don't watch them, they're funny. I don't know how people get into this under 1,000 subs club that I keep hearing about, but Taryn over at what's her channel name? Taryn Burley. I want to say TV Crafts, but I don't think that's right. Anyway, she should be in that club. I don't know why, but I also don't know why she's still under 1,000 subs, because she is hilarious. She's funny and she has so many great projects. So if you haven't checked out Taryn, and I will link her below, you should check her out. She's sitting just under 1,000, so let's try to get her up over 1,000 because she's great. If you may have been familiar with Terry Lee from Terry Lee Crafts and Joe from, don't remember Joe's former channel name. Anyway, they've teamed up and now they're the Absent-Minded Stitchers, and they're funny. They are really funny to listen to. Love to watch them, so you should check them out. And I found a new one not too long ago. Her name is Kaylin, and her channel name is Sunshine X Stitch JD. And she has some really nice projects, and I think she's only has like 3 videos, but you should check her out. And then I found another one the other day, Curly Girl Crafter. I think she said her name was Bonnie. Either Bonnie or Vonnie, but I think she said Bonnie. You should check her out too. There's way too many Flosstubers for us all to watch, which sometimes makes me think, why do I bother making videos? Because you all have plenty of people to watch, and so you really don't need to hear me ramble on. But anyway, I will try to get this edited and uploaded today, but it is 2 o'clock-ish, almost 2 o'clock, and today is our oldest son's birthday, so we are going to go take him out to dinner tonight, and he's getting a cat today. Not really for his birthday, it just happened to work out that way. And so we're gonna play with the new kitten. My new cat is fine, but she's just always hiding. I don't know why. She likes to hide. But anyway, it's been good to visit with you all. Please be sure to leave me a comment if you liked anything you saw, and hopefully I'll be back in about a month. Happy crafting!